Howdy, everybody. You know, when we first bought this property, one of the first things we did was had a series of 6 swales dug on the south side of the property progressively up to the top. So we wanted to have a silvopasture system, meaning that you have a swale and then in between you have pasture and then another swale and then another one. So you alternate pasture with a tree growing system. So what is a swale in the first place? Well, a swale consists of 3 major components. A swale is a trench that is dug below ground level. It doesn't have to be a deep trench, although the ones we dug were really on the deep side on purpose because we wanted to harvest as much water as possible. So there's a trench, and then there is the berm. The dirt that comes out of the trench is then piled up on the lower side of the trench, and then there is the back cut. You can't just come with a backhoe and dig a trench and say, I have a swale. Swales are dug on contour. Now, what does that mean? It means that you find a line across the property that is exactly the same level. Now, how do you do that? Well, there's a number of high-tech ways to do it. You can have a laser level system and do it that way, or you can do it low-tech with an A-frame level. Now, this is just a simple A-frame leveling system, and it allows you to go long distances. You just keep moving the A-frame, determining level spaces. Now, what I have here is a small level, and the 2 legs of the A, they have to be exactly the same distance. If they're not the same distance, you're not going to get an accurate measurement. So the arm of the A is what holds the level. Now, here is a close-up of the level showing the bubble, which indicates that the A-frame is on a level surface. So what happens if you move one of the legs just a little bit? Well, as you can see, it didn't have much of an effect. That bubble is still there in the center. Now, if you do this several times, you'll realize that there's actually a whole swath of an area that stays level. This highlights a potential accuracy problem with the A-frame level. For example, if you were to always take the top measurement or always take the bottom measurement every time, you could wind up with significant drift and wind up with a measurement at the end that is not level with the measurement that you started at the beginning. There's an easy way to avoid this, and that is to take multiple measurements every time you move the A-frame and then average those measurements and kind of take the one that's in the middle and always do that. So what is the purpose of a swale? A swale is both a water harvesting mechanism and a tree growing system. So once the swale is dug, you're going to plant trees along the top of the berm, and that's going to stabilize the berm so that it doesn't get washed out. So the first step is to determine the contour lines for your swale. If you're going to have multiple swales, how far apart are they going to be? And then you're going to determine the contour line. Now, the third component of the swale, which is equally important to the first 2, is the back cut. The back cut makes the swale so that you're not getting a lot of erosion on the back side. Now, you don't usually dig a swale on flat ground because for swales, you're relying on gravity to be bringing water down and filling in the trenches behind the berms. But you don't want to have too much of an incline either, because then gravity works against you. Usually around a 18% incline is considered kind of the maximum for swales. Now, it's important to understand that as sheets of rain flow down a slope, they follow the path of least resistance. For example, if there are human walking paths or animal walking paths or even insect walking paths, these can serve as catchment points for rain to accumulate and pick up speed and cause erosion events. The swale interrupts this process of erosion by slowing the water, spreading it out, and sinking it. Now, what do I mean by that? We've taken the energy out of the water and spread it out horizontally and giving it an opportunity to sink into the ground gradually, not to run over it and cause more and more erosion. And this infiltration continues for days after the rain event has occurred. It's a gradual infiltration of the water along the slope, and that preserves the water in the ground instead of letting it just flow off and away. Now let me dispel a couple of misunderstandings about swales. Many people seem to believe that swales started with permaculture. They didn't. Swales have been around for generations. It would be more accurate to say that permaculture popularized the use of swales. The second is, it seems that a lot of new homesteaders in particular view swales as kind of permaculture old school. You know, we used to do that, but we don't do it anymore. Well, I'm here to tell you that one of the best ways to hydrate your property is through the use of swales. So they're definitely not old school. Now here's a look at some of our swales. We had quite a bit of rain here the last couple days, and as you can see, the swales are full. And this is the bottom swale, the lowest one of the 6 on the property, and of course it goes a long ways along the contour line. Now this is the second swale going up the hill now. You can see there's a lot of insect activity. The swales become colonized by animals very quickly. And you see this is going quite a ways along too, full, completely full. The third swale going up the hill again, this is higher on the property. This one here is full too, and again full of gallons and gallons of water that will infiltrate into the soil. This is the fourth swale going up the hill again, full of lots of water, lots of animal activity in there too. It really is quite a spectacular thing to see. Now, just for your information, these swales were all dug by hand. No machines were involved at all. Now, I'm going to skip the 5th and the 6th swales because they basically just show the same thing. Well, I'm going to go ahead and end it here. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks a lot for watching.